So this is the Stratosphere, the new DD1 from Discmania, and when this was announced, a ton of people were looking at it and just like, this is it. This is the amateur's distance driver of choice for Discmania. And since Discmania has started using Trilogy's processes and plastics, a lot of people were assuming that this is just straight up gonna be a Grace. To be honest, it's not a bad thing for Discmania players. If you're a huge Discmania fan, you would love a Grace. Like it's an amazing driver. But is this just straight up a Grace, or is it just a whole new mold? Let's talk about it. Sorry, I had the sniffles. That was a little weird, wasn't it? Whatever. Now, right off the bat, no, this is not exactly like a Grace. Now, it feels very similar, and if you've had any doubts before that they might not be using Trilogy's plastic, that they're still doing their own thing, those can be laid to rest, because this is straight up the Fusion Orbit plastic. Straight up. But you can definitely tell that the rim is a little bit different than the Grace. I think you can mainly tell on the bottom of the wing. You can see that the DD1 kind of curves a little bit more on the bottom when the Grace is kind of more flat. And I almost want to say that the DD1 is sharper at the edge than the Grace. It's like very, very minor though. It feels like it is in the hand. And I would say that the rim is slightly thinner, or not as wide as the Grace either. It's definitely closer to the Wraith, because I do feel like the Grace is like slightly wider than a Wraith in the hand. But this is definitely feels like slightly narrower of a rim than the Grace. It does feel a little bit deeper though, so if you're, I don't know, there's a constant like slight dome to the top of this, when the Grace, like this is like a slightly understable Grace, and this is more flat, but you can definitely find ones that are domey like this. But it changes the flight of them with the Grace, and it's not, let's talk about it. So yeah, the flight of these, like looking at the dome of this, I totally thought it was gonna be very comparable to like a stable Grace, but then I threw them and I was like, oh no, it's not a stable Grace. It's a flippy Grace. So you can put it on a deep hyzer and it'll give you, so you can put it on a deep hyzer and it'll give you that full flight of a disc, the beautiful flight that everyone looks for, and it goes really, really far, even at my amateur arm speed. Now, I would say that it is slightly less overstable than that purple Grace. Like it just flips a little bit more. Like it still comes back. It is not turn and burn by any means, but it is definitely like more flippy than that purple Grace. But because that it has that dome and it's just more domey than the Grace, it glides a lot more than it. Like I think it might have more distance potential on it. Don't quote me on that, I don't know. But I just noticed it glided a lot more for it. But I think the big question that a lot of people are going to have is just, are they gonna come out with it in different plastics, and how much will those different plastics affect its flight? Because the nice thing about the Grace and the Wraith is that both of them, you can find multiple like different runs of them, and they're different stabilities. So you can have multiples in your bag, have all Graces, have all Wraiths, and just cover a multitude of stabilities for that slot. Now the DD1 right now is just that Orbit plastic, and so it's a little bit flippy. Or is it Horizon? Is the Horizon the plastic? I think Horizon's the plastic. But right now it's just the Horizon plastic, and it's a little bit flippy, which is great. Don't get me wrong. This is definitely still the Grace/Wraith for Discmania. But the big question will be, will they have those later stabilities? Now, will this fly further than the Grace? I don't know. You all have to see in our next one. That's right. Yeah, Wednesday. Coming at you. Be right here when it's ready. See you there.